Hey guys, welcome to another episode of View from the Cheap Seats, our look at the week in sports, aka the WEAK, the week in sports. And there's a lot of week in sports. We're going to talk about neck tattoos. We're going to talk in the NBA. We're going to talk about balls in the lap that Rory McIlroy is hitting, and
we'll talk about why baseball shouldn't be in France.
These are all these things with our buddy Darren McCarty, former Detroit Red Wings
Stanley Cup champion. Darren McCarty,
Stanley Cup champion, scored some very big goals. Was one of the best defenders, a grind line guy. He breaks down sort of the early NHL, what we should be looking for, why there should be hope, what it takes to win a Stanley Cup, why as a Detroit Red Wing through and through, grew up in Windsor, Canada.
Why he can't root for Toronto.
Can't root for Toronto, but why he was happy that the Blues won in 2019. Really interesting guy and one of our favorite dudes out there. Just a brilliant dude, so we'll talk to him. But first, top of the show, we got to talk about the sideline reporting.
Clarissa Thompson.
Clarissa explains it all.
She admitted on a Barstool podcast with the Big Cat, pardon my take, she admitted to making up some of her sideline reports, which objectively from a distance in a podcast is kind of funny. Like, I think that's a funny thing to say. I think that would elicit a big response on that particular podcast.
With those guys.
And I think that's a great get for those guys within that podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Unbelievable to dig that out and that we're talking about something that happened on their podcast as sports news. But it's a big deal. Because
why? It's like we didn't think it was a big deal until all the sideline reporters
started coming forward and being like, you can't do that.
Yeah, I don't make up my stuff. So now you're like, well, wait, what is the role of the sideline reporter? And can you just make stuff up? Were they just making stuff up all along?
So she claimed that she had this discussion a couple years ago with Erin Andrews on their own podcast. And we've met Erin Andrews and we love Erin Andrews. She's great. And I bet Krista Thompson's great too. But even if you did make something up at some point, like, you shouldn't do that. That's for starters. But also, you should never say that out loud.
Ever.
Your basic, we're coming to you for trust. They're trying to trust your information. Like,
I actually look forward to the information. We were just watching the Michigan game this past weekend, and one of our best wide receivers, Roman Wilson, got tagged over the middle.
And then he's not coming out in the second half.
And he's in street clothes. And you say to yourself, all
right,
give
me the update.
Get down to the sideline and tell me what's going on. Is this a significant injury or not? So we're like hanging on the information you give. Now, if you don't have it, you can say that. You could say, hey, I'm trying to get down. Hey, we're talking to Krista Thompson down or Jenny Taft down on the side. Hey, we're trying to get to the trainer. No one's talking to us right now.
And part of that is because they've been in the tent for a while tending to this person. So it seems like it might be more serious than we originally anticipated.
As soon as we get information,
we'll give it to you. So like, that's a report. You're not making shit up.
You didn't have it.
You don't get a lot of times you don't get the interview with the head coach because the head coach doesn't want to talk after half. The head coach has got too much going on. So then it's your job to grab someone else.
Or just say, hey, I tried to get Harbaugh, but I couldn't get Harbaugh because he's suspended. I tried to get Jerome Moore, but I couldn't get him because he was off to.
So I grabbed the defensive coordinator. I grabbed the special teams coach. Special teams, made 2 big plays in the first half. I grabbed that person. Like, those are the things you have to do. You have to be creative as a sideline reporter. So it's not so much that they made stuff up. That's not going to end your life. It's not going to ruin the game. In the grand scheme of things, it's not a big deal. If they're making something up, no one's living and dying by that information. However, we are hoping for them to have integrity as reporters. And on some level, to say you made something up is kind of an admission of being a little lazy.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't figure out the problem. You had a problem in front of you, not doubting the fact that a coach wasn't granting access. That's a problem. Not doubting the fact that someone who said they were going to be there is suddenly not there. And I'm assuming there's some pressure coming down from the producer who's like, hey, we got to get a report from you. What's going on the sidelines? And if you're feeling the pressure in the heat of the moment, yeah, you make it up. Now, also, don't say that on a podcast. I don't think you want to say that. Like, to me, she was probably vibing around that podcast
and thinking, I need to throw something
the irreverence of that vibe. It's like when a non-comedian is hanging out with comedians and they're like, I can say something edgy.
It's like,
no, you can't.
Because you don't know how to use it the right way. Like when Bill Burr says something edgy, he fully understands all the levers he's pulling and pushing, and he knows how to bring it back from the brink if he needs to.
When someone who's not him, if Tom Cruise was hanging out with him and was like, I'm going to say something like Bill just said. You're like, nope,
don't
please
do it.
don't.
Tom, you don't know how, you can't handle you can't put on the infinity glove.
Yeah. It doesn't fit your hand.
And so that's what I would say to her. Like, you snap your fingers and your career might be dust.
Is it the biggest deal in the world? No.
No, but like, who's going to want her on the sideline if she doesn't make a big...
And if I'm a sideline reporter, I think a lot of people, the optics are like, did they really talk to the coach or not? How do we know? We don't really know. It's thrown into question now because of what one person said in an interview.
So they're now in the position of having to defend themselves.
It's a weird residual.
Crazy.
Yes.
It's so funny how we don't think about it. And again, back in the day, Irv Cross was never on a podcast.
Right.
So he never let slip that he didn't know. He maybe made a ton of shit up.
Who knows? Brent Musburger maybe made up half of his shit.
No, but like, just so people on the sidelines. I'm trying to think of like who is like Jack Arute, maybe Adrian Karsten, maybe had like, he didn't know.
Yeah, I bet Jackaroot made some shit up.
Jackaroot made stuff up.
Probably
He's got like
somewhere.
a weird hunting hat. Like, where in the world is Carmen Sandiego hat? He's going to make stuff up.
What are you, like from the San Diego Zoo, or are you on the sideline? I don't know.
Training geckos, or are you getting information from the trainers? I have no idea. All right, let's take a break. Let's take a break. We come back. I love Darren McCarty so much. I love these on this show. And his insights on the world of hockey, just phenomenal. I listen very carefully to all the words he says. He brings up a team that we should all know about that we're not talking about right now, and he's got them winning the Stanley Cup. Stick around and find out, and then later on the show, a fantastic voicemail. This is View from the Cheap Seats. Hey, join our Patreon because we have one of the greatest slap fights between two old women using tortillas that you'll ever see.
Yes.
You got to join at patreon.com/Sklar Brothers. We'll be right back with Darren McCarty right after this. Hey guys, welcome back to the show. As promised,
we love this dude when we met him. We love that he's made a foray into stand-up comedy. We loved him as a player, loved to hate him because we were Blues fans. He's a Red Wings legend.
Which means he did his job.
He did
as
his
an
job.
enforcer, but also scored goals in the Stanley Cup. I mean, the dude has done everything. And then we got to be in a commercial with him last year, a Super Bowl commercial for our buddy Mark Bernstein, the law firm Sam Bernstein. And we are just so happy to have him back. Darren McCarty. D-Mac, welcome back, buddy.
Randy, Jason, it's always great to catch up with you. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
So I'm just going to say, we were throwing a lot of, in the commercial, it was an idea that we had kind of had when we were hiking with Mark through the mountains, the Alps. We're like, what about this idea? What if this happened? And he's like, so we have like relationships with Barry Sanders and Darren McCarty and Rick Mahorn and Kirk Gibson. We're like, okay,
what if all of them hung out?
Well, they all hung out at a trivia night, and like they answered the questions about the other people, and then the one question about Call Sam, they get it right. So we kind of goofed around with that. But like as we were improvising, each person had to improvise a little bit. First of all, Gibby, he was great.
He was funny.
Was so funny, wasn't he?
Kirk Gibson hung in there with the improv. He's great.
Always, the best part is what we got was the real everybody. Right, and that's the way Gibby always is. Rick Mahorn's always busting my chops.
So funny.
Barry's pretty quiet, but you know what? Barry gets, just because he doesn't say much, but when he does, he's funny too. Just from and that's always interesting too when you have that GOAT Hall of Famer and guys that you've been around, just to see that when they're really like at the end of the day, their sense of humor is like yours.
Yeah.
It made just for such a great time. So
we knew
bucket list for sure.
Oh, dude,
yeah,
we knew you could handle it. We're like, okay, once the camera's on McCarty, it's gonna be fine.
He'll be fine.
We're good with that. What I didn't recognize was how funny Mahorn would be, and Gibson was so great. I mean, everybody, and also like everyone was so fun to hang out with. It was just a magical moment, and we're St. Louis sports guys. But all of our friends who are Detroit sports guys, we told them afterwards, showed them the picture of all this together.
They couldn't believe that we got all you guys together.
They were blown away. And
you were their childhood.
I hope you understand how special you are, each of you guys, to that community of people. I'm sure you do understand it, but please remind yourself.
But it's something being very grateful from. And I think that you guys, that's, I think what came through watching that commercial is it was, and we're saying it was just as much fun to make as it was of what you saw, the energy, and it was always there. See, I was the kid growing up across the border with all these guys who are older than me, not very much these days. Am I in a group that I'm not the oldest? So I just don't tell Mark, right? Just keep the secret, and I'll keep showing up. But absolute bucket list just to be there, and you guys too. We've talked about it before. You deserve your flowers because you guys are huge sports fans. You've done it, whether it's with cheap seats or anything else. We've talked about your St. Louis fandom. I was probably like the happiest, other than person. Like, see, St. Louis we were so happy when the Blues won. Yeah. Right. It was just like, it was like time, and it was stuff like this because whether you're Blues fan or Cardinals fan, great sports fans.
I love that you brought that up because I feel that way too. So like when the team you're rooting for is out of it for whatever reason, you then sort of scan the field and say, all right, who do I want to win this thing? So let's talk in terms of baseball this year. So once the Cardinals were out, and they were way out from early on, I was like, I want the Orioles to win for exactly what you just said. It's their time. Like the last time they won was 83. And it's a storied organization, a great city that loves their team, a lot of tradition, had the wonderful years with Cal Ripken.
First franchise to redo their new baseball park in a throwback way, which started the trend of all fields doing a modern version.
And now
of the
Camden Yards is one of the oldest. How funny is that? He's one of the oldest parks now. Isn't that crazy? That's old.
But that's crazy, right? It's sort of like the ballparks and the casinos in Vegas.
Yeah.
Which one? like how old is the Wynn now?
It's so old.
The Desert Inn property, right? Like it's turning to be one of the older ones on the Strip.
Right. And so, but still, so it's become like a new classic, old version of an old version that is now still a new classic. But I wanted that team to win because I really was rooting for that organization. It's cool to hear that you guys are that. Ex-athletes are that way too, because you understand all that goes into winning a Stanley Cup.
Yeah, I mean the Red Wings were in the 90s and early 2000s. The Red Wings were the dominant force in the NHL, and so
you guys were the Golden State Warriors of
that time,
of the teens, sort of like 2000.
The Yankees,
the Yankees in the 90s,
but on ice, and so. To finally see, and you can speak to this right now, to see that the Red Wings are kind of coming back a little bit. I mean, there's
vibe, some hope, right?
There's a little bit of hope that they're at least heading in the right direction incrementally. So where are they now, and what do they need? What do they need to get over the hump?
You know what? They're at the point where now, right? I think that we can score goals. I think that our forwards, we can match up against most teams in the league every night, because I think that our power play, that's, what happens when you add a guy like an Alex DeBrincat to your team.
Yeah.
Right? He makes other guys around you better. The question mark is always consistently be goaltending. And then still defense. You're still a couple guys that, whether it's coming from within your system or something that which Steve Yzerman has availed him the ability to either trade for that guy or wait for that guy. We're still 3 years away from being legitimate contenders, but I think this year what you're seeing is the ups and downs, but we should be fighting for that playoff spot.
See, that would be great.
You look at the way that the season started.
Yeah.
We got off to a great start,
we
but, sort of floundered now. Now we're like on the outside looking in. It's going to be like this throughout the whole year. Just hope you don't go inconsistent that long of a time. So I hope to be in the playoffs this year. I think that if everything has to be rolling at the same time, but we're definitely better. You know, the lineup, the guys that we got, it may be a year or two away. Who knows? But I'll tell you this, the building's getting full.
So that's good.
So the Detroit sports fan knows when it's time to jump on board and watch the journey. So we're still in journey mode right now.
Right. So, but you think about, like, what can a team like the Red Wings glean from the Lions, who, didn't make the playoffs last year, but fought like hell and won a moral victory by winning that game in Green Bay at the end of the year last year. Didn't make the playoffs, but they showed something and then sort of advanced with that same vibe into this season. Can the Red Wings glean from just another team in the city in a totally different sport?
Yeah, no, they feed off each other, and you look at like it's culture, right? It's building that team from within through the draft. That's what Brad Holmes has done with the Lions.
Yeah.
He hasn't gone out and signed guys. He's drafted guys. He's re-signed guys. Steve Eiserman, look at the guys that you've drafted. You've added a few more guys. So feeding off each other for the Lions, best possible scenario to not make the playoffs so you get a softer schedule. They're taking advantage of it right now.
That's right.
Big game Thanksgiving because they get time off. They are playing 3 games in 11 days, but they can come out 3-0 with these and have a sure lock on this North.
Yeah.
As we're talking here, you got Kansas City and Philly playing Monday night. So, if Kansas City does their job, Detroit could be number 1 seed right now and control their own destiny because their schedule favors them.
So amazing to be talking like that about the
when they
Lions.
were 0-16
just a few years ago. Yeah,
So-
it just shows you.
Oh,
how
I
you
was
can
here,
turn
boys.
You were there.
You know how that feels.
Yeah.
You know those
Yes.
down doldrum days, embrace the suck in life, right?
Embrace the
So
suck
that's why it's tough because we're human beings. So
Sure.
what have you done for me lately? But it's hard to hear people complain, like people that complain about how you're winning.
Yeah.
How can you do that when you haven't won before? That's for down the road.
Right.
Okay.
That's a luxury.
No, we're grateful. Pulled one out the other night. But again, that's how you know that it's changed. It's the same thing as remember we always refer back to St. Louis that won the Stanley Cup. They had the worst record in January, but it clicked and they found a way and they got hot at the right time and it was a beautiful thing to watch. That's what sports can do.
So
now,
that
football, it seems to be easier to flip it sooner. So hopefully this is the window for our Lions to, who knows? We're looking to win a playoff game, but you never know the way things go.
Look farther.
Could be deeper than that, depending on you get home field advantage. You got to come to Ford Field. I like our spot.
I like that.
I like the spot too. Yeah, I mean, you're talking about hockey in that Blues season, and then you think about other teams. Is the regular season, the importance of it, kind of waning? If you can,
So I'm looking at Boston. They're 13-1 right now. How can you, as a Boston fan, after last year, not say who cares? Who cares? You're 13-1.
like when the Bulls were 73-9, you were like 72-10. You're like, they're not going to lose. They're not losing the NBA championship. This is a team for the ages. You can't say that about hockey because if another team comes in with a hot goalie and you get some good puck luck and before you know it, in and out, those grind lines, pick up a goal here and there and all of a sudden, like you're out of a series, you're done.
And you had the best regular season ever.
So here's the beauty, right? Because I played on those Wings teams that won President's Trophies, lost in the finals,
Right.
Set the league record and lost to Colorado. Fact is, it's like hockey's one of these games in sports that you almost have to, fail to succeed.
Right.
So they're free rolling. They know it's about setting themselves up.
Yep.
They're going to try to win another President's Trophy and be the best in the league.
Right.
But they're also going to go into it not having the fear of failure.
Yeah.
Because they know what the worst thing is.
They already did it.
So I
last
think
year.
it's sort of a blessing. It goes to show coaching and leadership in that building and the fact that whatever non-panic they had, and they're doing it with their top guy in Bergeron retiring. So that just tells you how good of an organization
That's straight up the organization because they've been great. So the Blues won. They beat the Bruins, and the Bruins have just been there every year. The Blues fell off. After they won, it's like there's a hangover. It's hard to keep
They
going.
broke the team up. A lot of those guys. Some of the guys from the Blues were on the Vegas team. Like some of those Blues players that were part of that championship team. Maybe not all stars.
Maybe gave Vegas that championship DNA.
So they're not like the Connor Bedards or the Connor McDavids of the league, but they're the guys who O'Reilly, like guys who just grind and like get you that shen, those like weird goals that like you need like in the third period that just lift your team. Maybe they don't score 3 goals in the first 2 periods, but they get the one you need in the third.
I think the proper statement is you need more than the Connor McDavids and and what you need help. And when it gets to the playoffs, it's a different beast. It's a different beast.
What makes it different?
Goaltending, puck luck, and staying healthy.
Yeah. So it's like everyone's beaten up at the end of the year. Everybody's got an injury. You've played 82 games. It's an incredibly long season.
It's a huge gauntlet, yeah.
It's insane. So everybody's beaten up, and you're getting hit every night, and you're laying hits. Talk about the idea of like you lay a hit on someone, you might have hurt them, but like there's impact to you too.
Oh, how many times do you see it? The guys like and come to mind is like a Nick Lidstrom who never gets hit solid. They get themselves a game. If I'm going to run you, which I try to run a lot of guys, best thing is to get as close to the boards as possible because you're going to take the brunt. If I catch you off the boards, you're in trouble. But yeah it's all part of the game that everybody, through the playoffs. That's why and that's what toughness is. Toughness isn't being able to fight and punch guys and make guys bleed. It's about what can you endure and still get out there and be an asset to your team.
So do you think teams in the NHL are thinking about you build your team for the regular season to get yourself in the playoffs, and then you have other guys that you hope to almost like in soccer where you see kind of the European leagues, they'll bring on a great guy at like the 64th minute. And you're like, why isn't this guy starting? Because you bring him in now when everyone else is tired, and this guy can start doing some things and making some things happen. Is there a plan to kind of not rest guys, but sort of make that plan for the playoffs that you have guys that are fresher at that point?
I think that if you're a team that has, your position locked, but the NHL hockey game is it's so close every night, 3-point games. You don't have that luxury.
Yep.
Nobody has the luxury like the NBA to sit guys out for maintenance.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
Load
Stuff like
management.
that.
Yeah.
Guys got to play, and you got to figure it out how to be able to play. The best teams and the best players play every night. The best players want to play.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, do you prepare yourself and maybe in certain ways, but my role as a grind liner or as a third, fourth line guy, it would be much more. I know when my time to shine is in the playoffs. So, you know what, like, I don't know, maybe you wouldn't be used in different situations like you would be because you're trying different things out, but things you take pride in is, killing penalties, blocking shots, getting the puck out, being on the ice at the end of games and stuff like that. So the more, still during the regular season, if you're in a close game, you're going to start using that in preparation. And that's what the good teams have the luxury of doing. So that's why you got to get your points early.
Being on the ice at the end of a close game, a 1-goal game, maybe a time where the other team pulls their goaltender.
That's when you know the coach trusts
you, right? That's the ultimate trust.
My number one favorite, greatest memory or whatever like that, because I grew up just across the border, give or take 10 minutes for the immigration, was 40 minutes to the house I grew up from Joe Louis Arena.
Wow.
My favorite memory of all time was the fact that I was on the ice with 7 seconds left for the cup for the end when we won in 97. Amazing. I was on the ice for that. I was the furthest one away. Stevie won the draw, thank God. And I was the furthest one away from the net. So I got to see the guys come off the bench, the people in the stands, the screamers. It was so loud from blue line to blue line. It was silent. And I always remember that from being that kid at, 6, 7 years old in the stands. And that's one of my greatest memories. And there's nothing like it to be on the Yzerman, Shanahan, Lidstrom, Konstantinov, and McCarty on the ice. So
incredible.
That's where it's at. The trust.
So it's funny because
there should be a stat for that,
right? You talk
finish game
how many games
finishes
did
does
he
have?
finish? That should be a thing, almost like a save in baseball. How many games did he finish? He finished these games. He was the last guy on the ice.
Who was on the ice? Who took the face off at the end of the game? Who do you trust?
Who do you trust?
It's so interesting because I feel like hockey fans understand guys who score, goalies who make saves and whatnot. But to understand what you just said about being on the ice at the end and what that means to your team, it's almost like an inside hockey sort of thing. And everybody who's ever played hockey understands that, like, those guys out there at the end, those are your guys who the entire team is like, thank God they're out there.
They know they're not going to make a mistake. They know they're going to put everything they have into it until beyond the final whistle. They know that this is our wall right here.
Yeah.
If they can't stop it, no one can.
It's amazing.
Absolutely.
Amazing. All right, I got a question about, because I do think as a hockey fan, going back to what you said about, you were happy to see the Blues win. It's a great organization that had been close for 50 years. Lots of good teams, lots of great players. Brett Hull, Adam Oates, those years in there. Gary Unger, Bernie Fedorko, like great. Red Berenson, Brian Sutter. I mean, like they had great player. Wayne Babbage through the years.
Chris Pronger, Al McGinnis,
Chris Pronger, Mike Liute, Grant Fuhrer. I mean, these are great players who took them far in the playoffs that couldn't get over the hump. And so just the idea that like they win, I kind of have that feeling for Canadian hockey teams. Like I want to see Toronto win. I think that's like a fan base that has like been through it. If ever there was a fan base, like, can you imagine if Toronto or Edmonton were to win again?
They'd shut down the city
for a month. Like, it'd be insane.
Toronto winning would be like the Lions winning the Super Bowl.
You think so?
I'm sorry, but I grew up, and because I was surrounded, I can't hope that for Toronto.
Right.
I was in Edmonton. I can hope that for Edmonton and everybody else in Canada, but
you can't do it for Toronto.
But I still like that. I don't hate Colorado,
right?
And I don't hate Toronto. Shady's there and stuff, but you know what? They got to earn it, and to me, they haven't earned it yet. They just don't.
What are they missing?
They got out of the first round. Maybe that'll help. Maybe they'll get there. But no, can you imagine how annoying Toronto fans would be if they actually won?
I mean,
they act like they won to begin with. I have to look and see how many cups it's crazy. So
I mean,
it'll happen. Who knows? It'll happen. It better happen sooner or later, or else.
Yeah,
they're gonna have to make some changes.
Oh yeah,
I think so. I mean, their team. Where are they playing? About third or
they're like fourth right now.
Fourth in the conference.
I think they're third or fourth, and I think the Red Wings are fifth or sixth right now in their division. So
we lost a tough one over in Sweden to them last week because always stinks to lose to Toronto. But they sort of have our number.
Yeah, they have had your number, but they still have.
When Toronto, Detroit are a rivalry again, like there's some like.
That's good.
Then
it's good for the game.
Then the hockey's good.
Yeah, hockey's healthy at that point. It's like when the Knicks are good.
When the Knicks and the Lakers are good.
Knicks and Lakers good. NBA is good. Boston and the Lakers, when they're good, the NBA is good. It just is, to me, is like nothing against the New Orleans Pelicans. Nothing against the Charlotte Hornets. Like nothing against the Orlando Magic.
Nothing against the Tampa Bay Lightning. That's been a good organization.
Great organization. Tampa Bay Lightning's been top shelf. So good. But
absolutely.
But as like if you're a hockey fan wanting those old school organizations to win because that's good for hockey, like you're like, come on, somebody rise up. I'll take a Red Wings. That's why I was excited that even the Blackhawks, who the Blues and the Blackhawks have such a heated rivalry, as much as the Blues and the Red Wings throughout the years. When the Blackhawks got Connor Bedard, I was like, this is good. I want the Blackhawks to be good. Chicago fans are great fans. They love the hell out of their teams. They're going to love this kid. If he can stay healthy, they're going to love this kid. You build a team around him, and it's like, that will be exciting.
Yeah, and you got to, he's 18 years old. Holy cow. Everybody who's can we just give him a year or so?
Yes. Give him a couple of years.
Holy cow. Yeah,
I mean, Connor McDavid, I feel like, was always doing great stuff, but I feel like last year's playoff run, you said the greatness of this kid on the large stage. He, to me, was like Mike Trout in baseball. Great guy. Organization wasn't good enough to get him on the stage that he needed to.
They tried.
But
they just couldn't get him enough pieces. It kind of goes back to, it's a little bit of what the Edmonton Oilers are dealing with. They have arguably the two best players. Was it Tony Luffman who said they had the two? Someone we were talking to said that right now you could argue that they have the two best offensive players in the league.
Yeah. McDavid and
Draisaitl. So you got two guys who you could argue are the two best in the world, but if you don't have a cast of characters or an identity as a team behind them that is close to that, you would trade those two guys for a full roster of a team that had an identity for lesser scorers.
Well, look at the team. Look at the team next door in Vancouver and how well they're playing. And you know what? They got some really good players, but you wouldn't say everybody doesn't know who Elias Peterson is,
right?
And Brock Besser and our guy that we sat there, Philip Peronic, who by the way had the fastest recorded goal at 107.9 miles an hour the other night.
Wow.
How's that?
Amazing.
Unreal.
Amazing.
That's heat.
That's heat.
That's Al McGinnis heat.
All right, so as we sit here right now, I know it's impossible. It is impossible to predict.
There's so much parity in the league right now, and we don't know. But like in your heart of hearts,
right now, if you were to be like, all right, I'm looking into my Darren McCarty crystal ball future. Let's look at who you think right now, just based on the way everybody's playing right now. So I'm going to give you outs because people can go down and streaks can go down. I mean, look at the Arizona frickin' Diamondbacks this year in baseball. Lost 25 of 32 games. No one in August was saying this team's going to make it to the World Series, and they did. So anything's possible. But as we sit here right now, very beginning of the season, who do you like? Who do you think is going to wind up in the Stanley Cup? Do you think it's Boston?
Right now, I'm going to say a Boston-Vancouver final.
Oh, I love it. And who wins? Who wins?
I love my boy. I think that actually Vancouver brings it back. Vancouver's the first Canadian team to win a cup.
Wow. Yeah, wow.
I love it. We'll run the tape if that happens.
We'll roll the tape when that happens.
I'm a little biased. Rick Tocchet's my favorite hockey player growing up and in the world. He's coaching there, but I love what he's doing. And that team, they're real. They play hard. They got guys that you don't know, but they're legitimate. That team, they play as one. So I really like them.
See, I love this. You get Darren McCarty on. We hear stuff that we wouldn't know. We get answers. Stuff that we don't know. Let's take a quick break, shall we? And then we'll come back. We'll do some quick hits because some stuff happened in the world of sports, non-hockey related, that McCarty's going to break it down with us because he's a funny dude. That's what happens, and we'll find out how you can support him and all the great things that he's got going on. This is View from the Cheap Seats. Our guest is Darren McCarty. We'll be right back. All right, guys, welcome back to the show. Darren McCarty is with us. Hey, how can people support you, support the stuff that you're doing, listen to you, pick up whatever you have out there? Just please tell us how they can follow you.
Absolutely. DarrenMcCarty.com. It's the first place you can go if you're into following on social media.
Yep.
Darren McCarty 4 on Twitter, or the blue check marks, real Darren McCarty and official Darren McCarty on Facebook.
Great.
And Instagram also daily, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, during the week, 11 to 1, Big D Energy, Woodward Sports Network on YouTube. My boy, Neil Rule and myself.
Great.
Yeah.
Like I said, Facebook, Darren McCarty Slaps the Comedy Tour, traveling around.
Love it.
Doing Michigan, getting ready to do the North. Was just out last week. Stuff like that. You can also catch me on IWTV and check out a lot of wrestling stuff that I've been doing.
I love it. I love it.
ICW mostly, and having a good time. Doing a bunch of staying busy, boys. Staying busy.
It's beautiful. Great.
I'm actually going to England in February.
Nice.
For wrestling, so I'm excited for that. I've never been to England.
It's incredible. You're gonna have a great time.
You're gonna love it.
You absolutely love it. All right, should we jump into this?
Yeah, let's jump into these. Okay, you shouldn't. This is our opinion. You should not be trying to sell baseball to Europe. Basketball, I kind of get. Hockey, I even get.
Hockey is a great European sport, especially Finland, Sweden. Those are great teams. Didn't Germany have a decent team?
Yeah, but baseball,
oh yeah, that's where all the kids are coming from now. Germany's the new Sweden.
Germany's the new Sweden. There you go.
So look, I get baseball in Japan. I get baseball in
baseball is not a very European thing.
In Korea, no. I
get it in Australia,
New Zealand, but France. That is just why are we going to France?
I don't know.
Major League Baseball has canceled plans to play regular season games in Paris in 2025
because of a lack of interest, right?
Yeah, a lack of interest. That's it. their upcoming schedule. Their games are obviously only 10. Paris games are on the docket for June.
I would go to England because they play cricket. It's like there's a baseball cricket.
So Seoul, South Korea, it's happening. But like, it's like you wouldn't send. Would you send hockey to Brazil? Like, I don't know that you could get a bunch of people out to see a hockey game in Brazil,
right, Darren?
Or Peru. Am I wrong?
Yeah, it could work anywhere, but how are you going to turn it on? Hockey, you have to get somebody to a live game.
Right.
It's not a TV sport. It's a live sport.
That's right.
A lot like it, just because if you don't grow up watching it, it's tough to watch the puck or follow the puck.
Right.
On a TV, it could be boring. So, yeah, you never know, because if you have enough money, you build a facility, you could put them anywhere. It's not like you can't manufacture ice.
No, you can make ice, but
but baseball in France, like, stop trying to send things to France. They're not going to like what you have. If it's particularly American, they're not going to like it anyway.
Right.
Unless it's Jerry Lewis, just don't send it to France. That's all I'm trying to say, right? I think that's safe. All right. Rory McIlroy hit a ball into the lap of a spectator, and it was as awkward as you would expect it to be.
I'm expecting it to be very awkward.
He hits it into this woman's lap, and she just sits there with it in his lap.
Just sitting there.
He faked like he was going to hit it out of her lap. Like, Tiger would have hit that.
Tiger would have hit that.
He would have hit that, and he would have hit that. You know what I'm saying?
Tiger, he would have double hit that and had to take an extra stroke.
Hey!
He DC chinned it, right? He two-tapped it. That's illegal, Tiger. You get one stroke for hitting both her.
He would have had a bad lie.
Now, although he might not if he could actually complete that in one stroke.
That's right.
Shit.
He hit it.
So Rory, in that moment when you see Rory like interacting with this woman who's sitting there with the ball in her lap, like, you get a sense you're like,
he hasn't interacted with normal people.
Like, this is a guy who's never flirted with the beverage cart woman driving through. Like, he's never had an interaction that was like a normal little, like, he was engineered as a child to get into this sport. He did it all through the way. Golf is the only thing he feels comfortable in.
I mean, it's kind of, when I think about it in terms of hockey, like, hockey is this sport. You're just talking about, we know a lot about sports. Like, I don't know any of those guys on Vancouver. I bet those guys.
That's a bad read. I think it's a bad read. I think that the whole thing is that Rory, because all the cameras are there.
Yeah.
I think if this was like in a round, there's no phones, no cameras. These guys are funny.
Oh, you think
he's got a sense of humor? I mean, all you got to do is watch all that stuff. So I think that the fact in the society that we live, that he had to actually be robotic. You guys understand that.
So, okay.
He's got the whole world watching him, and how is he going to do that?
I buy
if
that.
it was just him and his buddies or whatever, and this happened,
He'd be
rolling on the ground, trying to buy her a drink, making comments. She probably has a sense of humor too,
She did. She left it in her lap.
Hold by Rory McIlroy. Never thought that would happen today. Immaculate conception. Had my pants on. Would have figured. You
never know. I like this
take. I just think that it's society, because the camera, everything's like this.
Right. He's nervous about the reaction.
I'm the only one that could just be myself whenever the camera's on or off.
Right.
Because
you're a comic too. Because you're a comic too.
Detroit loves you.
This is why people love you. So
authentic.
If it would have been a funny person, they would have yelled, "Get in the hole," and then everyone would have been like, "That's too much," and then he would have got so.
No. See, I would have said, "Oh, you lipped that one out."
I lipped it out.
I love it. Jeez. Finally, LaMelo Ball. This is interesting.
It's interesting about the NBA.
He's been asked to cover up his neck tattoo. I don't know if you saw this. And the NBA is admitting that it's forcing LaMelo Ball to cover up the neck tattoo, claiming that the Charlotte Hornets Star Inc. is violating league policy. I see what you got. 22-year-old, he got the LF put just below his left ear in September to represent his middle name as well as his La France clothing line. But he's covered it up with a bandage now because you can't display that. Can the NBA really be doing this? I mean, didn't they just a couple years ago, start putting advertisements on the little shoulder strap of the tank top?
Yeah, they did.
I mean, the Clippers. I'm a Clippers fan. They were sponsored by Honey, that website that
Honey, like the money market.
Or the one that found you good deals and stuff. I like Honey. They support our thing, and I'm not against that. But I'm like, if you're gonna put ads on the uniforms, then you can't tell a guy, unless it's like OnlyFans or something that's going to be offensive. You can't tell a guy to not put two initials that are vaguely referential to it's his initials.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they're pretty relaxed about tattoos in the NBA. Am I right, D-Mac? I mean, everybody's.
Yeah, no, I it'd have to be a mandate, and then they'd have to get if it wasn't in there before saying no, tattoos above the neck, then they'd have to get it passed through the PA, or NBA Players Association. So, I mean, I don't know.
I mean, I
don't know.
He should not have. Look, if that's his initials, he should not have to cover it up. The fact that it's his company, I think, is the reason.
If he's advertising fentanyl or the Fire Fest, all right, fine. You can take a beef with it. But his brother, Lonzo Ball, had to do that with the Big Baller tattoo that he had on his thing, the Big Baller brand.
On his neck?
Yeah, he had to cover it up as well.
Must have been something that is in the fine print that they didn't see. So if you don't hear a stink from the PA, then...
Right.
Yeah, if they're not fighting it, if you're not hearing the NBA PA strongly
you kind of got. You didn't
also,
read the print.
The Ball's their father. They're like, if he's not coming out against it, and I mean...
he would want to come out and hammer
LeVar Ball.
LeVar Ball.
You know what I mean?
The worst. All right, there you go. That's Quick Hits. Darren McCarty, thanks, man, for being here. We love having you on this show. We're supporting you all the way. Hey, if you're a Patreon fan, stick around. Is Darren going to break down this video with us, or are we going to do it solo? It might be hard for him.
So let's just do it solo. However, I'm going to say this, Darren McCarty. We're coming to Detroit to do comedy at Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle. We're going to hang out with you then. On
sounds good.
February
always in. When do you know when you're coming in?
February 29th, March 1st, and March 2nd. I hope you're in town that time. Are you around then?
I'll check the calendar and mark it off.
We're expecting you to bring 100 people out, 100 of your closest friends.
That's it. We're gonna hang out. I love it. D-Mac and the Sklar is doing our thing, and maybe we'll do another podcast from there with him. That'd be really.
That'd be awesome. Let's do it,
dude. You're the best.
Sounds good to me.
Good luck to you with everything, man.
All right,
we love
guys,
you, buddy.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Have a good night.
You too. Oh, Darren McCarty, I love him. What a great guest.
What an awesome dude, and I can't wait to hang with him in Detroit when we're there. So just a quick reminder in the future for what we have going on, you guys.
December 1st and 2nd, 2 nights only. We're in Cleveland, Ohio.
At Hilarity's, one of the best clubs
in the country.
Come see with us. Our buddy David Rodriguez, who is the owner. He's coming out to feature for us. He's the owner of the comedy club in the
Comedy Fort.
Comedy Fort. He's coming out and he's going to feature for us. Those shows are always amazing in Cleveland. Come out, Cleveland. We want to see you guys there. And then at the beginning of January 4th, we're at Helium in Portland, and the 5th we're at the Crocodile in Seattle. Come get tickets for those. Those shows are going to be super fun. Then at the beginning of February, we'll be back in Denver at the Comedy Works South. God, I love that place. What a kick-ass club. Let's sell as many tickets as we can there. And then at the beginning of March, as I mentioned on the podcast earlier, February 29th, March 1st, and March 2nd, we're at Mark Ridley's Comedy Castle. The first place we ever did comedy and got paid in Detroit. That's those 3 days. And then at the beginning of April, we'll be at Acme Comedy Company in a comedy club in Minneapolis. At the end of the month, we're going to be at the Moontown Comedy Festival. And then we're talking about trying to get out there
to Alaska
in May. That would be so much fun.
Support us. Follow us. Before we get out of here, we got a voicemail. Check it out.
Hey, Rainey and Jason. This is Daryl Hall of Daryl Hall and John Oates. People hear my voice singing, the silky smooth voice that I have, but when I talk, I sound like this because I'm from Philadelphia. I'm a huge, 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 huge fan of Philadelphia sports, and this week I put a restraining order out on John Oates. Let me tell you why I put that restraining order out on John Oates. First of all, he would never go down to the Wawa on 5th and Locust and go grab a water ice, which I asked him to do several times. Then, he didn't have the faith in Jalen Hurts that Jalen Hurts could lead the Philadelphia Eagles to the Super Bowl championship. And I said yes, and he said no. And then he made a couple of disparaging remarks about JT Realmuto. And I said, you don't do that in the studio. And then he tried to throw a little guitar amp at my head. And I said, nope, this relationship is over. And I'm going to go tell everyone in the press and the world that I'm the one who wrote all those songs. Me, not John Oates. And you don't talk smack about JT Realmuto or Bryce Harper, or Aaron Nola when you're in my presence, Daryl Hall. good day, and happy Thanksgiving to all of you.
Okay, guys, I know this is dropping on the Friday after Thanksgiving. I hope you had a great Thanksgiving. I hope you're enjoying time with your family.
We are grateful for you. We're grateful for your support and continuing to listen to the show. We'll keep bringing it to you.
Punch a Waterfall. Enjoy the game tomorrow, whatever happens in it. I'm sure.
Whatever game you watch, we've got the game, but I'm sure everyone else has big games this weekend too. Enjoy college football. Enjoy your family. Coming up soon, the character episode, the music episode,
and then our year-end review with Chet Waterhouse. So much fun stuff on the horizons for you from the cheap seats. We love you guys. Thanks for sticking with us. We'll see you next week.